Comments from select board. Uh-oh. What happened to that?
Oh,
My little screen just went like purple. Did I hit this? I think so.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Yeah, that's not a good picture either. We're starting off.
Technology,
What
yeah.
did I hit this little aluminum thing? Is that like really like the nuclear button or something?
That's your mouse.
But it's got, are we back on the meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Good. I didn't know if I did something like really wrong here, right?
No,
This is the button.
cordless mouse. Put it aside, then you won't. Oh, now I did it again.
Okay. So there we go.
Sure.
Nice. I'll call it the first comment I'd have from the board is, and I apologize if I got to hold this thing out because my glasses fog up and, we had a rough storm, and I certainly want to thank the highway crew and everybody involved. We're dealing with some stuff that I really can't comment on within the workings of that, and so between whatever it was, somebody asked me about measurement of inches of snow. I just would say, I'm not sure, but it's a lot. And then, and then the scheduling and everything. So, I want to thank them and then ask the public to, please be aware that it's a rough time to do, for anybody to plow that much snow all at once. So, we're trying to do the best that we can. Is there are there any other comments from board members that are topics not on the agenda?
Just the emphasis that I mentioned in the last meeting, that positions that are open don't require a petition. You don't have to get signatures, but you still got to get a letter of consent from the town clerk. 2 select boards, it might be 3 school board. Be 2 scheduled.
They filled one, I know of, and that goes to the unexpired term, and I don't know whose seat that was. I think they
There's
might
at
have
least
one
2
vacancy.
anyway, as well as other various.
Under any year.
Right.
Yep. And that stuff is, I did see it today, it's on the town website. It's the first thing up on the website as a general thing. Floanne has posted that up about all the assorted
Good.
offices to run. Is that what that's, okay. Yes, go ahead.
I had seen that on the website, same topic, but what I didn't see was a date that those have to be in by. Is that there? Or does anybody know what that is?
There's no, you don't have to have petitions now.
Right.
But there's some other paper, a consent form that you have to file with Floanne.
By when? That's that's what I'm
Yeah.
asking. What's the date on it?
It may be on that. If they can call, if those interested parties, can they call the town office and to research that, that'd be great.
I
And
didn't
even
see
that
it, that's all.
schedule, depending on what we decide to do with town meeting, could slide.
Yes. And I did get confirmation on the expired terms will continue until we have a town meeting.
Right.
Okay, so that's pretty important. So there's 2 board members that terms are up. You won't be up if we don't have a town meeting election day in March. Okay, so I want everybody to know that. Go ahead, Paul.
I just was going to answer the question that Mike had. On the town website, it talks about the positions that are open, but then they said the ballots will need to be in by Monday, January 25th, 2021 by 5 p.m.
So the paper with Floanne, that the deadline is still the same way?
Yep.
Okay, good.
She's still proceeding like town meeting's gonna happen on March 2nd.
Yep.
Great.
Because.
Yep. Yep. Any other comments from board members that's not on the agenda? Okay, Brandon, anything from the town manager not on the agenda?
Yes, we are in the process of scheduling meetings with both fire departments to review the contract. Last week, a Scotty Fire and I had a meeting on Thursday, but we shut down due to snow. So I believe you'll be reaching out to them again tomorrow to schedule those meetings.
I scheduled one with Darren, and then
Okay.
I'm on standby with Josh.
Okay.
I did talk to him.
So I think we'll be prepared on January 4th to review with the board any feedback from the departments on the current contract. The second thing is I spoke with Floanne today, and I let her know that we'll be discussing town meeting on January 4th, if that's acceptable to the board.
And the only thing that I had in my mind was, and I think it's gonna be on everybody's mind, was the elected officers, and that got cleared up for me. So the money, I mean, we may actually know more if we voted on in May. The year end doesn't happen until June 30th, so we're under no financial strain as far as that goes. I believe we'll be able to put together budgets that will pass, so I'm not really scared of that. And as we get further into the budget process, the wild card will be the state. I just, I'm a little bit late because I happen to be listening to Scott, and this money that just passed Congress does not include money for the states to help them recover some of the budget woes of the past. That may affect state aid to highway, education fund, things like that we don't know. So I'm sure that John will be the lucky person to find all that out. So, and that could directly implicate our money to operate, because it does help offset the tax rate. Are there any comments from citizens that may be online? I don't see anybody here, on topics not on the agenda. I see a couple of callers, but I just don't know, who's on. So if you would like to yell, scream, I don't see any pictures, message Brandon. I'll be happy to take them now.
We have Rosalie, Darren, Suzanne, Ray, and caller number 1, which I believe is Stephanie.
Okay. And she's with for the grant or something that we're gonna take up? Something
Yes.
on the agenda. Okay, good.
Yes, hi, Stephanie Smith on the phone.
Yep, okay, we're gonna take you up in a minute, right after we do the actual minutes of December 7th.
Yep, got it, thanks.
So I need a motion to accept the minutes of our board meeting on 12/7/2020.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the minutes of December 7th, 2020. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now we're moving on to the hazard mitigation grant. Why don't you lead this off a little bit, Brandon, and then we can go into Stephanie, who's on the phone, to help us get through this.
All right, so we held the meeting and discussed this grant application several months ago. Stephanie reached back out to our offices and stated that she would be on the call today to answer any questions the board has for the terms and conditions, and that they need to sign the terms. The select board needs to sign the terms and conditions in order for them to finalize the award for this project. So I'll pass it over to Stephanie Smith.
Go ahead,
Hi,
Stephanie. Yep, you've got the floor. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm not on the, okay, sorry, I'm just on the phone, I missed the link where you would be able to see me. But in any case, I'm Stephanie Smith, I'm the State Hazard Mitigation Officer in Vermont Emergency Management. I manage the 3 FEMA hazard mitigation funding programs. So this project was applied for, I think a couple of years, at least a year ago at this point, under my predecessor. And this FEMA does this terms and conditions form that they send out to the communities, which means that they're ready to finalize the award, but they need agreement to the terms and conditions, so they'll need a signature on it, and they'll need it to be returned before they're able to actually produce the award, so that you can do the project work. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have on the terms and conditions, or what it means once you get that signed and once approval comes through. But this is really the last piece before we'd actually be able to do the project.
And I apologize for not looking at this really specifically, but has the party, the landowner or the homeowner, have they been fully engaged? Are they on board with this, or where do they fit in, or have they been a part of this?
Yeah, so I wasn't here when the application went in, and I actually haven't spoken to this homeowner. I know that Regional Planning Commission, I think they've been more. So if for whatever reason the homeowner decided they were no longer interested, that would stop the project at any time. It's a completely voluntary program. Or if it's even on the town side, if you decided that you were no longer interested, that would stop the project at any time when you've made that decision. So I haven't specifically spoken to the homeowner. I would be reaching out if this was awarded and making sure that they were aware of everything that was going to happen, should they still be interested. But we can't really move forward with any of it until we get this form signed.
Okay, does the board understand where this location is?
Amsden School, isn't it? Amsden Store.
Yep.
Right.
And the thought process was to demolish the building and have a common area of some kind, grassy area there. It's been looked at pretty hard where there could not be a septic system allowed there. The river is right, the building's on the bank. I believe, from my memory, and I've been here a long time, that the original septic system may have been where the house was built down below it. That offered some area, but that's no longer possible. The homeowner that bought it had a family, and I believe that he passed away and was trying to remodel it and fit together the pieces of the puzzle, had a family, and now that is not happening. So I don't know if a bank is involved. I don't know. That was some of the questions that we had early on. So I don't know the status of I believe the ownership is still the same in the family that did that. Obviously, maybe regional planning has more information than I do. Is Otis, you're not on from regional planning? Nobody's on, Brandon?
No, just Stephanie.
Okay. Does the board have any questions about this? That was interesting to hear Stephanie just say that we really can back out anytime we want. That's obviously our intent if this doesn't go forward, or if the bank objects, something.
I'll make a motion that we approve the hazard mitigation grant for 6648 Route 131. And then I have a couple questions if it's seconded.
Second.
Okay, the motion been made and seconded to approve the hazard mitigation grant for 6648 Vermont Route 131 for demolition with the terms and conditions noted in our December 21st meeting. It'll be recorded in the minutes. Is there any discussion? John, go ahead first.
Yeah, is the price or the number that we're given, is that fixed? And the reason, what's driving my question is there's language in here that any hazardous material that is found has to be taken care of properly. I mean, that's fairly obvious. But if it turned out to exceed the grant amount, who picks up the extra money?
Yeah, so we can request an extension. So the numbers included in the budget that was submitted are an estimate. So even in terms of the property purchase value, the first step will be to hire an appraisal and get that a more accurate number. So it's an estimate at this point. And then if there was asbestos or something that was found, that usually comes up within the appraisal, and then we might have to do a survey, a more detailed survey if that was a concern. And we can ask FEMA for more money, but it's only 75%. They're only covering 75% of the project cost.
Okay.
So I have been speaking to a person at Two Rivers Regional Planning Commission who is managing a pot of funding for the match, and it's possible he can cover the match for this project. Because it's not awarded yet, I haven't been able to really firm that up with him. But my hope was that they'd be able to cover the 25% match for the project.
Did you
Thank
have,
you.
yeah, thanks. Did you have a question, Paul?
I was just, a lot of this looks like a standard document anyways. I was curious, is there any pieces in this document that are maybe outside the normal boilerplate type document structure that we should look at or be informed of?
So not from my perspective and from what we've seen. We've done a lot of buyouts across the state and they're all relatively standard. The main components from the town side are that the town is required to manage the grant, and then the property will end up in town ownership following the purchase of the property, and you will be required to maintain it as green open space. So there are some limited uses you could do with it that I can discuss with you if you have interest in making it a little park, or it's something that doesn't have any infrastructure that might be damaged in the future. But the idea is that it just maintains green open space, and then if the river needs to access that piece of land, it doesn't hurt anything.
Thank you.
Does it,
Yeah.
does the, I don't know if you know the answer to this or not, Stephanie, and I don't expect you to, but it must say somewhere on the town tax map what this is. Is it a quarter of an acre or half an acre? It's not very much.
I know it's small because I've seen the pictures. I haven't actually been to the site, and I don't know the exact acreage,
Okay.
but it's small.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. But I do know that it overlooks the river that goes crashing down there through rocks. I mean, it wouldn't be a bad spot for a flat area with a bench or two. It's just not possible right at the moment to be having a septic, and it's a very, very large building. So I don't know the answer. I know this was a way out for the owner, and given that after Irene came through, we thought it would be easily qualified when that happened. So, are there any other questions?
It's an out for us too. That building was gonna fall in our lap
Yeah.
eventually anyway.
Or fire or something.
Yep.
Something hazard. Are there any other questions? A motion been made and seconded to approve the hazard mitigation grant for the noted site, and it'll be recorded in the minutes. Any further questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'll follow up with Otis to ask, to inquire about the property owner and make sure everyone's still interested. But I appreciate you signing off, and this will, as soon as you get that back to me, I'll send it to FEMA, and they'll be able to get you the award.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Yep, but, Brandon, who signs for that? Of the whole board?
Yes, I have it right over there.
All of us?
Yes.
So at the end of the meeting, everybody needs to be aware that you're gonna do that too. Okay, good. Let's go to town manager report.
All right, the first thing I want to report on again is the website. We're in the final stages of development. Our website team has training on January 12th of 2021, and we go live on January 20th, 2021. So right now they're moving all of our content into the website, and then we'll be ready to go live to the public. So we're really, really excited about that. The second item I have is Martin Memorial Hall hours of operation for December 24th and 25th, December 31st and January 1st. I gave the board a copy of the 2020 holiday schedule for the town. And since Christmas falls on a Friday this year, it's observed on Thursday. However, we changed the hours of operation at Martin Memorial Hall to Monday through Friday. So what we're doing is we're going to stay open on December 24th until 12 p.m. And then the staff will go home to their families. The same holds true on December 31st. Does anybody have any comments or concerns regarding that? All right. The third item I have is the FY22 budget schedule. This evening, we're presenting the Highway Department budget On January 4th, we'll be presenting the general fund budget, and on January 18th, we'll be presenting the solid waste budget. The fourth item I have is the $900 billion COVID-19 relief bill. We're hoping that there was going to be some state aid and aid for local government and municipalities. However, that's not the case. This relief bill did not include any federal support for cities and towns with unbudgeted COVID-19 expenses for the second half of FY20. So as we learn more information, I'll report that information to the board.
Does your holiday schedule require a vote of the board to waive for a half a day for Thursday? Or how, did I read that right or not?
Well,
I see the highways closed, and I see that you're not.
this schedule was approved already at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
So we were originally going to be closed down completely on Christmas Eve. However, since we moved to the new schedule and they're not 10-hour days, we decided to stay open on Christmas Eve until 12 o'clock. Then we're going to close down on Friday.
I will say this, I don't know if anybody else has seen the weather, but I'm not sure that I don't know. They're calling for like 47 degrees and an inch of rain. Okay, when an inch of rain in the 40-something years that I've been around here in town, when an inch of rain hits 0-degree roads, you're not going to be able to walk. So it's going to be very messy on the 24th and 5th, not with snow, but with rain this time. So
Well, sounds like the highway should be open then.
they're going to be.
They're working.
They'll be on sanding.
Shovel your roof.
Mine's sliding off now, as they're going through. Are there any questions then? So we don't need any to prove that. So the next up will be the small business relief grant funds. Brandon, I'm going to let you take over on this, but Mr. Todd is going to have a comment. Go ahead.
I applied for this grant, so I'm going to recuse myself from any decisions or discussion that has anything to do with this at this time.
Would you like to take over, Brandon, and then you can talk about, this was part of the $55,000, or 54, was it, the $1,000 grant fund from COVID-19. It was a portion of it. These funds has to be distributed by year end. These people applied for this grant, and they are businesses that are located in town. I suspect that they had to prove that they were businesses, in some tax form, or to be able to qualify. So go ahead, Brandon. I'll let you tell how many we had, or how we want to do this. I know there are a list of them.
So I'd like to, I'm going to give just a brief statement, and then I'll make the recommendations one by one, and then the board can vote to either approve or deny those recommendations. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. So our administration established a small business relief fund to assist small business owners in Weathersfield that are impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. The first recommendation that we have is vote to award a Scotty Mountain Horse Farm, L3C, a $1,000 grant to provide working capital for this small business.
Move to approve.
I think, can we
You want
just?
to just do the whole list?
Yep, so
Okay.
can you go
I
down
agree.
there and we'll just
Okay.
say the whole, yep,
Yep.
okay.
The second recommendation, vote to award Evolution Salon, a $1,000 grant to provide working capital and rent and lease costs for this small business. Recommendation 3, vote to award Hawks Mountain Motorcycles, a $1,000 grant to provide working capital and operating utilities for this small business. Recommendation number 4, vote to award Tiny Stars Childcare / Pre-K, a $1,000 grant to provide mortgage assistance to this small business. Recommendation number 5, vote to award Perkinsville Preschool and Childcare, a $1,000 grant to provide working capital and employee support for this small business. Recommendation number 6, Vote to award Sweet Sprouts Daycare a $1,000 grant to provide working capital and rent and lease costs and employee support for this small business. Recommendation number 7, vote to award World of Discovery Center-based childcare and preschool a $1,000 grant to provide working capital and employee support for this small business. Recommendation number 8, vote to award Richard Strobe Tax Services a $500 grant to provide working capital for this small business. Recommendation number 9, vote to award JC Siteworks a $500 grant to provide working capital and employee support for this business. Recommendation number 10, vote to award Everett Bingham Enterprises a $500 grant to provide working capital and employee support for this business.
Can I have a motion to approve these 10 as written?
So move.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
The motion's been made and seconded to approve these 10 grant awards as written, and they've been screened through by the town office, and I would like to thank, okay, yeah, we're in discussion now because it's been made and seconded. I'd like to thank them for applying, and I would like to thank Brandon, the town manager, for getting this grant to be distributed. And are there any other comments? Paul?
I just have one question. What was the total amount that the grant could have funded?
And
10,000.
we got 1,500 left over.
We got, yeah, $850. So how does that work? Can we have another round?
So basically, we don't have time for that. So there's $1,500 remaining. So that $1,500 will enter the pool for our COVID-19 expenses up to December 31st.
Okay.
And new expenses have been incurred. So that remaining $1,500 will offset our COVID-19
We are starting
expenses.
to get into some more difficulty with supplies.
Yep.
So
No problem. I was just curious where it was all.
I think that the only thing that I know about the town office measured and screened the applications and tried to quantify whatever they thought in their best judgment. I didn't have anything to do with it. I let them do it. Are there any other questions?
Which one's the Scotty Mountain Horse Farm? I've heard the name, but I'm not familiar with where it is.
Do you have the location, Brandon?
Yes.
I don't really matters, but just,
Do you know where the pond farm is on 131?
The,
No.
what'd you say? I'm
Do you
sorry.
know where the pond farm is on 131?
Yeah.
It's right across the road. It's like down a road across from that farm.
Okay.
I do know that we gave significant publicity for people, opportunity to ask for grants. I mean, it was like at least a couple of our board meetings or a month and a half or something to get people. I know I talked with people and I don't think a couple of them submitted, and I wanted them to.
Surprised the camping areas didn't.
Yep, I just,
I personally asked a couple people as well, or at least made them aware that this was happening.
Yep.
so.
yep, and plenty of time too.
One other, number 8, I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's Strobel, not Strobe.
That's a
Typo.
typo, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Strobel.
So you'll have that clarified.
Yes.
Is there any other discussion? The motion is made to approve the 10 as written by the town office. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
I have one more comment. If anybody that applied for this grant is watching, our intent is to distribute those checks tomorrow.
Good. Let's go to the finance report. Brandon, I'll turn it over to you first, but I'm sure that Rosalie wants to, or you're gonna have her involved. Are you online, Rosalie?
I am.
Nice. Brandon?
Do you want me to go ahead with the budget actuals?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Just detailing some of the budget actuals from the different departments over the month. I understand that you have this sheet in front of you as well. So, I mean, if you have any specific questions about anything, let me know. I'm gonna detail it, each department, summarize it a bit. But if it gets too redundant, stop me in my tracks, okay? So admin budget currently, the revenue is at 40%, personnel is at 47%, expenses are at 44%. The electricity is high at the moment, 59% of the budget to date. And then pretty much the next few bullet points, it's important to note that COVID-19 expenses contribute significantly to the total expenses to date, but they will be moved to the emergency management line and reimbursed. So the country courthouse bond payment was budgeted for $7,900. The bill came to $9,022, contributing to the line going over the budget by 14%. Website development, as Brendan mentioned previously, that's over budget by 143%, but that is something that will be reimbursed under the LGER grant. $5,000 will be moved to the emergency management line and decreasing that line to 0%. I'm going to move on to the listers budget. Revenues are at 0%, but that's because revenue generally comes in during March and April. Personnel is at 41%. Expenses in total are 50%. The sophomore agreements is over budget by 153%. Office expenses are over budget by 105%. Total expenses are 60%, and the listers restructured. The land use budget revenues are at 40% of budget, with expenses at 33% of the budget. The administrative officers line is currently at 40% of the budget. The printing line is over budget by 167%. That looks like a lot, but they do have a fairly small budget, so that's really only over budget by $100. As for the police department, revenue is at 80%, personnel is at 40%, expenses are at 39%. Repairs and supplies are at 95%. Dues and memberships are at 178%. Town clerk revenues are at 109%. Personnel is at 33%. Expenses are also at 33%. The vault land record supplies line is at 145%. Vault fee to reserve is at 100%, and the total vault expenses are at 122%. Finance department, the expenses for the department are currently 38% and personnel is at 32%. Library personnel is at 38.86%, expenses are at 35.88%. The building maintenance line is currently at 204.66%. And the total building and maintenance expenses are currently at 93% of the budget. The computer line is 75.27%. The office supplies line is at 57.95%. Dues line is at 180 and 12%. Total dues and membership line is at 34.86%. Revenue for highway, 80%. Expenses are at 30.77%. Workers' compensation line is at 58.45%. Covered bridge insurance line is at 50%. Highway well water line is over budget at 449 and 46%. That's not a recurring expense. I'm sure you all remember that. Brandon told me a little bit about that instance, so that won't recur. Chloride line is at 41.39%. Culvert line is at 92.13%. Contract work is at 93.25%. And then for solid waste, personnel is at 37%. Expenses are also at 37%. West Windsor permit stickers are at 230%.
Hold it.
Internet is at 80%.
Hold it, Rosalie. Hold it.
Yep.
You're like going on the Indianapolis 500, so I want to back up a step, and I'm going to make a suggestion. What's that, Joe?
I liked it.
Yeah, I know, but, well, you like the Indy 500? Okay.
Whatever you say.
Open wheel, okay. I do have a suggestion about this highway well water line is over budget by, 1,000,000%, whatever it is. That project, really, the only thing that it had connected to do with was at the site of the highway. I'm going to offer this suggestion to you, and I think that should be separated out, because it was the product of a house that was bordering the highway department. And so it was a project that we took under to avoid a confrontation. It doesn't feed the highway site for water. It is specific to the house, and it happens to go through a deeded easement that goes around a long way to the other end of the highway. So I'm not sure that it's fair or to call that highway expense. So we need to have our arms around that a little bit better, because it's a little bit misleading here. So,
I do
I
just.
don't know what kind of money you're talking about, Rosalie. So I know when you said earlier that, don't pay attention too much to that line because it looks like it's 1,000,000% over in land use and it's $100. I pretty much guarantee you that we're not talking about $100 on this highway well water line.
We're talking about $1,200, and it occurred a month before our contract and agreement with this gentleman expired.
Okay.
So that contract is now over and done with, and that was our final expense related to that contract.
Okay, but even so, I'm not sure that it belongs, quote, in the highway budget. It probably might, we could talk to Steve or whoever else. John, you're probably here. I don't know if the other guys were here at the time we did that. But it seems a little unfair to have it in the highway budget. Maybe, I don't know, you think so?
Well, it was the result of highway activity that caused this
Okay.
expense to take place.
Yep.
Okay,
so-
Didn't the budgeted repair come through that department? I mean, isn't that where
It was
the money was
borrowed
put to take care of the
I
problem?
remember how we paid
I don't know, but it had 5 numbers in it. It was $30,000 or
Yeah.
$40,000.
I remember that.
To fix that problem. So,
I don't think I was part of the board then, but I
No.
I was around, so I remember this stuff.
it was a lot of money.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't mean to, I wanted,
The
thank
good
you.
news is we're no longer responsible for repairs and maintenance.
And Brandon, you just did a good move right there by clarifying what dollar. When you start, anybody, the red bells will go off when you see 449.46%. But you just clarified it by saying it was $1,200. I'm happier now than I was.
And I think, if I may, back when this all took place, this was something the town took on and resolved, and if we hadn't have done that, like I said, I don't believe I was a board member at that time, I think I was on the budget committee, but if you guys hadn't have done that, I think you were involved, John, you might have been Dave.
Oh, I was.
It probably would have been 2 to 3 times this in lawsuits.
In
if you
lawyer
had- If you
fees.
hadn't
You're
taken care of
absolutely
that, and I
correct.
remember that
We did the
discussion.
right thing.
No, we did.
Yes, you
right
did.
then.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
But that's just for, we got 2 fairly new board members that might not have been aware of all of that stuff that happened there.
It deposits sand or the salt right near the road that contaminated the neighbor's well.
It's a dug well, and then we did lots of testing from the salt, and it's like, I mean, it's a very strange thing. The surface water in that well is fine, but you go down into the well, and it's got like way over the level of salt that's accepted. So, it's like 1,000,000, or whatever the gauge is, but not on the surface, but it's down in. And the town also has a drilled well that we used to try to use. That one's the same way. So, it is what it is. Thank you. Now you can go on to, I think you're going on to solid waste. Sorry, Rosalie. Can we start at solid waste? Did you unmute her? Or something happened to her connection?
Put her on the wall, Indy 500. You can't do that.
I know.
Pit stop.
The wheels came off.
So, I think something, she just texted me and something was going on with her computer. So, yeah, I think it's a Wi-Fi, issue.
If we, why don't you take over, Brandon, for
Yeah.
start at solid waste?
No problem. So solid waste personnel currently is at 37%, and expenses are at 37%. West Windsor permit sticker revenue is at 230%. And that was the result of us enforcing the permit stickers. Telephone and internet is at 80% of budget right now. So we're gonna have to really revisit that. We switched over to Comcast. They told us it was gonna be cheaper. It looks like that line's at 80%, so it's one of the lines that we're gonna have to focus on a little bit more. Recycling expenses are at 100%. Fire departments, personnel expenses are at 14%. Office expenses are at 0%. And I just wanna remind the board that in a way, I almost don't feel comfortable presenting these percentages because I really don't have all of the information. So with the new contract, I'll have those numbers. But right now, the Scotty Fire Association handles their finances, and then we reimburse West Weathersfield for their expenses. So office expenses could be at 20%, but I just don't know at this time.
So how can you get, when you just said the sentence that you just said,
Yes.
so we reimburse the west side and let them do it, how can we get to like one, where we just say whatever the expenses are for, let's say, you see office expenses or something, why can't it just like run through yours and then it's all done? Why does it need to be that you get in and then you disperse and then they also, it's two sets of books?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of different ways that we can do that. They are two separate departments. Right now, we have a budget that consolidates the departments. One of my recommendations would be to separate each department, and they each have their own budget document, similar to how the highway department and police, they're separate. And then we pay all of the bills.
So
Those would go through Nemrick, and then we'd be able to do those budget to actuals.
But for the last year or two, or three maybe, the west side would get bills because they've been having the town office. Darlene used to do them, right?
Yep.
So there's been no transfer of money. She would just pay the bills, wouldn't they? So it really is just one office. So we don't really, do we still like give them like 20, or whatever it is, $1,000? Or do we just wait for the bills to come in and pay them? We don't.
It's a little bit I mean, there's a separate budget document that leads to this budget document.
Okay, well, I'll wait until we get into the general fund on the
Okay.
4th right, for the 4th of January.
Yeah, I'll have two recommendations. We keep them under one consolidated budget, and then I'll show you what it looks like if we separate them.
Okay.
And have separate budgets for each department.
Okay, yep, sorry.
You can decide which way they want
I
to go.
just see zeros here and then whatever, and it just looks a little strange.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Utilities are at 34%, insurance expenses are at 49%, communications is at 158%, and communications includes the emergency management line. So,
Okay, so that's gonna be a little fuzzy because of the way COVID's going on. So that's not dispatch?
nope, that's not dispatch.
Okay, we're gonna need a lot more a lot more communication on the communication line.
So let me scroll up here a little bit. Communications. So specifically for the dispatching service, right now we're at 50%. And we've made 2 payments, so it looks like we're right on target for dispatching fees. The emergency management line, that's the one that's at 3,113%. But that includes all, and that's not even all of our COVID expenses. We now have to extract all of the rest of our COVID expenses and pull them into this emergency management line. So you're gonna see a much higher number.
I'm gonna make a suggestion then,
Yes.
when you guys are in the budgets. I don't think you should complicate things. I think you should run that on, what we did with Irene. We've got COVID-19 now. You've already got $55,000 grant that you can put underline, and we have a separate sheet showing about what we're doing, dealing with COVID.
Yes.
I don't think it's fair to say, to plug in one line, because it looks foolish, where the emergency management line is either $600 or $300 on any other year.
Yes. So
It's not gonna happen. And so.
we don't want to pull the COVID expenses into the emergency management
No,
line?
you just track them separately so that it doesn't look like year over year what happened then and no one will remember.
Segregate.
Yes. Similar to a grant. I know that Bill Daniels has run into problems before where they will get mixed up with annual operating expenses. Big, bad, wrong answer, because grants either come in and happen periodically or they don't, but the annual operating budget is what it is all the time. It's very bad to be mixing. It's like oil and water. So isn't it easier to track this COVID-19, by the grant and by the expenses of what we need for materials?
In my opinion, all COVID-19 expenses should be booked to the emergency management line, and then what we would see under this line is a wash. So we would see that the line went over by $54,000, and then we would see an incoming grant of $54,000, cleaning that line back to zero. However, when we print out the report, it's going to show all of our COVID-19 expenses line by line by line, rather than seeing them in all these different accounts in Nemrick scattered throughout our.
Okay, yeah, no, I get it, I don't want that, because the same thing happened in Irene. So in other words, when we went out and bought, like, I don't even know how much, we got reimbursed from FEMA, like $50,000 in gravel.
Yep.
It didn't look like the next year we spent $100,000 on gravel, just because we do 50 normal and 50 over because of Irene.
Yep.
We actually,
Totally
we
makes sense.
actually had this thing formulated, so then we could still maintain our annual sense of what we're doing every year.
Well,
Yep.
Paul?
you've also got a whole column here with notes, so I mean, it seems
Yep.
simple to be able to put whatever notes,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, to do what Brandon wants, but then you're not gonna be confused later, because you're gonna be looking at this and hopefully.
As long as it's not all through the whole budget, or like the general fund, where we have to look, like, let's say that the police needs some COVID-19 stuff, and then they put it in, and then, I don't know who, the office does, and then the elections do, that's where it really gets fuzzy.
Yeah,
Right, but that's, I thought what he said.
it's all gonna be in one.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
under the emergency management line.
Okay.
But then it breaks out there, so
Okay.
you can see specifically. Isn't that what you
Okay,
said?
Yes.
I'm just trying to be as simple as I can get.
That sounds simple.
Yeah, so what, you know, and if we show the emergency management line on a graph, you're gonna see expenses increasing, and I can actually show you what that looks like. And then the COVID-19 grant funding is gonna come in, and it's gonna bring it right back to zero. But when we print out that emergency management line, it's gonna show all of our expenses, and then it's gonna show the wash. So I think it's the cleanest way to do it.
Easiest way to track it. You'll know right where to go to
I think-
find what you're looking
I
for.
think just what Dave was saying though, is you don't wanna later on somewhere, you know, all of a sudden look and go, geez, why was that so many percent, and everybody forgets.
In the town clerk's office, or in another entity,
But I think this
Next
will
year,
work.
we're going through budget, we don't want to see year-to-date numbers that are
Right.
all skewed.
and they'll be that way, because inadvertently,
With the exception, I like the idea, just put it all in one line.
yeah.
Yes.
And this way, if, you know, because if we don't put it all under one line,
Right.
and we need to know what our COVID-19 expenses are, which I have a document with all those expenses, so it's not a big deal. But in our accounting system, I would have to print out several, it would be dozens of
many people
pages
are
of
gonna-
lines, and then I have to highlight each one. But this, you know, doing it this way, we print it out, boom, there's our COVID expenses.
I don't think many people are gonna
Yeah.
forget 2020.
As long as Brandon can track it and
agreement.
explain himself, I think however it works out is fine.
Yep,
We
okay.
don't have to-
Yep,
All right.
let's go to, okay, we're done with this, right?
Fire, fire equipment PPE / hose testing is at 26%. Highway and fuel service is at 14%. A Scotty fire expenses is currently at 0%. That's something I need to clarify with the Scotty Fire Association, I believe. Darren, when do you usually request reimbursement from the town?
We do it quarterly.
Have you sent one of those requests yet this year?
I believe we have, yes.
Okay, I don't have any record of that request, so I'll have to get with you during our meeting tomorrow and get that taken care of, because right now in Nemrick we're showing a 0% for the Escutney fire expenses, which means what that tells me is that you haven't been paid yet.
Correct. Does that surprise you?
Oh, boy.
Sorry.
Well,
I just had to.
We'll take care of that tomorrow. West Weathersfield fire expenses is at 29%, and total expenses for the fire departments are at 41%. Does anybody have any questions about the finance report or any of the lines that Rosalie went over with you guys?
The only question I would have, if I may, is in some of those places where we saw the high over 100% stuff, you don't have to go looking for them and tell me what the numbers are, but nothing.
Yeah, so
Really?
nothing's really, I mean, in some of these lines that have high percentages too, it's because there's COVID-19 expenses built in there. So what we're gonna do is extract those expenses, put them in the emergency management line, a lot of these lines will decrease.
And if
Paul?
just the land use stuff, a lot of the print, I think, some of the maps that we've been going through, so even though, like you said, if you look at the budget on that, it's very low, so, you know, $100 makes a big difference there.
Yeah, $100 is what caused that line to go over,
We've,
by that
we've
percentage.
actually, digress a little bit, we've actually talked about maybe a plotter or something here, spend a few bucks up front. And, that's another time.
We ready to move on to appropriations? Everybody happy with finance, or for now? We'll get into it when we start getting into budgets, then it'll mean something. Let's go to the entities that are, what are they, nonprofits, that ask every year for money.
Suzanne?
Yeah. One number didn't save for some reason. I just noticed it on the spreadsheet. It's Windsor County Mentors on the bottom. They requested $480 again like last year. The requests are about the same. There are two agencies that haven't requested this year. And one would be Cover Home Repair. I haven't received anything, and the other one is Windsor County Youth Services. I haven't received anything. Everyone else is pretty much the same from the prior year. Green Up Vermont went up by $30, and then this is just the amounts requested. It's a bit more than the last year, but it's not what was appropriated. So these are just the requests that came in.
Okay, question number one. The second one down, Big Heavy World, was not appropriated last year, but is asking to be new. So I'm not sure how that can be associated without the voters of the town voting on that. I would like to see that voted on by the town in order for it to be included in the group of others. John?
The policy, I'm sorry, the policy says that every request over $500 gets voted on by the town.
Every year, Suzanne?
It does say if a request is approved, it would be for 2 years.
That's right.
But there was a question last year because if someone, I think it wasn't clear on the ballot that it would for the next funding year as well. So for visiting nurses that requested over $12,000, they were approved for 2 years, but the voters voted on one budget and not on the next year's budget. So I think there was a question about the policy itself.
Brandon, would you, in the next select board package, put the policy in? Because it's changed a couple times. I'm not familiar with it right now.
Yes.
But I personally, after just hearing that, I have no idea, and I'm not picking on them, but I have no idea what Big Heavy World is, other than it's different than small, light world.
It's a radio station, radio broadcasting station in Vermont.
But again, the voters have not voted to authorize that, and from time to time, we do get people vote no on some of these things. So if they're just trying to get in to get some money because it happens to be under the threshold of $500 to sneak one by us, it ain't gonna sneak by me.
And don't use acronyms either, because a couple,
I know, it's just, but I don't know what, well, I would,
No, I agree.
but I would say it of anyone here, I'm looking at the list and I'm seeing that those others were appropriated last year, okay, that's fair enough. But to put one in here that didn't get appropriated last year is different for me. So, including the two that didn't submit, Cover Home Repair and the Windsor County Youth Service. Is there a deadline that they need to file in order to be included?
Yeah, the deadline passed already. It was in November.
Okay.
And they followed our policy to put a request in and submit the paperwork.
Okay, but this board doesn't have to adopt it, right? We don't have to.
No, we don't.
So you can ask for clarification, or, all this does is put it on the ballot to be voted on. Or no, is it within the budget? It's within the budget.
It's not going on the ballot if it's under $500.
Yeah. Per the
That would
policy.
be a board vote if it's under $500.
Yeah, I think Dave's talking about the whole appropriation list.
The whole appropriation list goes probably into the general fund budget,
Yes.
doesn't it?
Yes,
And then gets voted onto the general
General
fund.
fund, yeah.
that's
It
correct.
does not get voted on by appropriation.
Which is why you're bringing up the point about the one that was not done last year has not been voted on.
I'm going with John. I like to see the policy because I'm going out on a limb here, but I'm willing to bet that the board has some discretion about whether or not something goes. We may vote on it to go for $500, but we also may ask for it to be on the ballot,
So,
even if it's under.
real quick, you can pull up the policy on your iPad.
Yeah.
If you'd like.
Do we have to make a decision tonight? No, this is the general fund discussion.
Right.
And the general fund is gonna be taken up for consideration starting on January 4th. This is just an FYI to see who's in here. Now we know that two of them didn't make the deadline, so they probably don't even belong in here, right? Unless they file for an emergency COVID extension, which probably could happen on a deadline. Because we're way in advance of the warning being January 25th, around that time, to make the warning date for the March vote.
Yeah, I think you have more time. You will have to decide who you want to see. I'm not sure if you still want to invite them to the select board meeting like prior years, or if you just approve it as it is. The policy says requests of $500 or greater will require inclusion on the town meeting warning and a majority vote in support of the request.
But otherwise, what does it say? I don't think there's an automatic solution if it's less than $500. It's not an automatic, I don't think.
No. All funding requests will be considered and voted on by the selectors following a review of the request and submitted documentation, and a question and answer opportunity with the requesting organization at a warrant selectors meeting.
Okay,
But it does say approved funding requests under 500 will be included in the proposed general fund budget.
We used to have a very simple system.
yeah, we did.
Where if somebody asked for more money, it got voted on by the voters.
Yes,
And if but all of them rolled through on a 5-year cycle.
Yes.
To be approved, and it was very simple.
and they went on special articles, and they had to come state their business, and up or down. And
Well, for a while, all these agencies had to come in and do a dog and pony show for us.
But sometimes,
Forever.
but sometimes if they're on 5-year rotations, that it's not a bad thing, because you block
On
them
a
up.
5-year, but that cuts the list by
Yeah,
20%, or
yeah, but I'm
80%.
surprised to seeing that a brand-new entity, doesn't matter who it
Is
is.
that you? No.
Did I sign that?
No, Kelly, Lynn, Dan, Peter Cole.
I think what they tried to do perhaps was to streamline all this, but it doesn't make, but it doesn't make,
It was all transparency and accountability, and if the original document, they wanted financial reports and your 501c status, and there was just a litany of things that were being asked for.
okay. So, just for clarification then, everybody that's in the green on here just goes automatically, and we just go to the general fund year after year after
I
year?
gotta see the policy.
It just,
No, it would be up for you to vote on. These are just the people that requested, but the select board votes on what they would approve.
Right.
So you can go through one by one and evaluate, and I can tell you that the chief of police had to say a couple things about whys and why they shouldn't receive funding. And I think he sent something to Brandon, but I can request him to put something in writing again. And you would just go and look at the pros and cons and vote on each single one.
is the very last one, here's a confusing one, the very last one, Windsor County Mentors, is in green, so it didn't get any money last year, and it's not asking for any money this year. Why are they even in there?
No, it was. That's what I said in the beginning. It didn't save. It's $480 that they got last year and requested again. $480.
Oh, so it's a misprint.
Yes, please. I'm sorry.
Non-print.
Did you have a question, Paul?
No, I was gonna answer that for you.
Let's, we'll take this up under the, when we start going into the general fund then. This is just an FYI, okay? And then if we can have, the policy to look at or whatever when we get to that point. Yes?
What about taking out the whys, the big heavy world, and go ahead and vote on the rest of it and get it all done, and we just got 2 to deal with moving forward?
Can do that too if you want to. It doesn't say any action tonight. I don't know what, was there any action to be taken?
I mean, I don't know, what's everybody think?
If it's exactly 500, does it have to be voted on by the voters? Or is it over 500? Because why is it?
I think it says 500 and over, right? Does it say 500 and over?
It says
so
a request under $500.
Now you know what, now you know why one of them said 480.
Yeah. But can we give them 499 and?
Well, but there is a question with whys. If they got it last year and that was their first year and they've been authorized for 2 years, then we'd have to include them. So maybe we better just wait.
See the policy.
Yeah.
Review it. I didn't even
Yeah.
think about it when I saw this list.
Okay.
So last year, the same question came up, Mike, last year, and Sven had sent a letter to all those agencies that would apply to, and they were approved last year for the second year. So they had applied prior, and Sven read the policy as that the subsequent year was the same amount, would not require a new approval, and he sent individual letters saying that they were approved automatically the second year.
Okay. Thank you.
I think we should hold this.
Yeah.
I don't want to take any action on this right at the moment. There's a little bit too much confusion. Let us go to proposed FY22 highway budget. Now, before we do that, it's not on our computer, Brandon, or is it?
So everybody,
Okay, you've got the green
the
printout.
green document here.
Okay, so it's not on your, it's not gonna be on your iPad.
Nope.
Okay. It's on yours?
Oh, yeah.
You put it on yours? Okay. No fair. Shut his off. Have I got a mute button? I want to have an electrocution, like when a cattle prod. Sorry.
He's special, we need a short bus.
How about a dehorner?
Come in for training. I'll help you.
Training, yeah, I know. Do you want to start us off, Brandon, or
Yeah.
how do you want to go?
Yeah, no problem. So basically what we've done here is we've level funded the highway department budget this year, and we've absorbed the grader and dump truck lease and interest payments into the budget. State aid to highway, we took the average of FY18 to FY20. We usually receive these numbers after a town meeting. So we figured by taking the average would be pushing on the safe side. The only item we removed from revenues is highway service to the Scotty Water District. Olivia Savage replaced Alex Longton as the water operator apprentice, so that revenue went away. Personnel includes a 2% increase in pay. We saved $54,145 in insurance benefits. 2 employees took the opt-out, and the employer/employee contribution increased from 9.5% to 14%, which resulted in that $54,000 savings. Covered bridge insurance increased by $594. Liability vehicle, boiler, general insurance increased by $1,413. One of the numbers we are not 100% on right now is the IT services line in the highway department budget. I have a meeting with CCI tomorrow to review the contract. In the beginning of this year, when I first came in as town manager, the CCI contract was up. And basically what I did is I extended it for 1 year. So we've been working back and forth since that time to get an understanding of what kind of services they're providing and services that they don't provide that we probably need. So we have reached an agreement for that extension, and we've been discussing those back and forth. We're also adding 10 more laptops to that contract to be managed by CCI. So that may increase the cost a little bit. And one of those laptops is going to highway. The equipment, maintenance, repairs, and supplies, we did reduce this line because we purchased the greater maintenance plan, which includes all the services for this piece of equipment. Additionally, we have the warranty on this equipment, which will cover unanticipated repairs. We reduce this line by the total annual cost of the maintenance plan and warranty, and these lines are broken out below. So if you'll move over to equipment, maintenance, repairs, and supplies. Last year it was $89,500.
What page you on, 2?
Yep, page 2. And that is located under highway, garage, and truck expenses. And the number last year was $89,500. This year we reduced that amount to $82,814, and then we broke out the greater maintenance plan and the greater warranty. So when we discussed this, we discussed taking the greater maintenance plan, dividing it by the 7 years, and charging it to the highway department annually. So that reflects those costs, and we added 2 more lines to do that. And those 2 numbers would equal out the $89,500, which would level up on that line. Equipment, we lowered this from $7,500 to $2,500. We don't have any large equipment purchases this year, so we felt that that would be a sufficient amount for that line. Paving repairs, we also reduced that line. We're going to do 1 day of crack sealing instead of 2. You'll notice that we increased the summer mowing by $2,000 per negotiations with Summit Contracting. This was their first year mowing our town. So after mowing our town, they determined that it would cost an additional $2,000. And Ray and I discussed this. We think they did a really good job. We heard really good things from everybody else. So we decided to put the $12,000 in the budget. The last big change that you'll see is on page 3.
Can I stay on page 2?
What was that? Yeah.
When you look at line, I wish the print was bigger, or my eyes were better. About the last column where it says road materials and repairs, about halfway through, maybe 2/3 through, it says guardrails, and you're going to 0?
Guardrails has been at 0 since FY19.
Well, FY19 says 7,469.
Yes, and then before that, there was nothing for FY18.
Yeah, I know, but not, in 19, it had $7,500. The reason I ask that is because periodically I drive around and I see a few sections of guardrails that are absolutely crashed. And I'm talking gone. And they're actually, I mean, they're in half and they're still there, which means to me that they haven't been removed, that there've been accidents there, and they've been, go down Reservoir Road. A few times lately, which is going from Perkinsville to Springfield. So I'm not sure that that's accurate. I don't think it's been accurate for a little while. I think it's our job to fix some of them, and I don't think that that's alone. I don't know if anybody else has seen what I see, but it's not a job for the crew to do. We hire it done, usually, because there's a couple of outfits, was it Lafayette or somebody, that they come in and drive them. I just think it's one of those lines that's kind of like summer mowing and other things that we do section by section, or we do a little bit. I don't think 0 is the answer. But I don't know if we have the money somewhere here that you can just move into that or whatever you want to do. But I just,
Yeah.
I saw that and I said, hold it.
No, and I totally agree with you on that line. I wasn't aware of the broken guardrail, so Ray and I will get together tomorrow or this week, and we'll
I just
see.
think if you took an inventory and you did like, I don't even know, like a couple hundred feet, and I don't know how expensive it is, but you gotta do, it can't be 0.
Okay.
Yeah, inevitably, there's gonna be more each year.
And they replace them with steel, and they take up, sometimes the creosote ones rot out, and they're not like down on that stretch that I see, so. If Mike,
A couple lines down from that, line 59, reclamation and other expense, there's a note to the right that says this money should be moved if it's not gonna be used. What is reclamation and other expense? And maybe there's $2,500 right there that you can move up to that.
So Ray can probably, Ray, are you there?
Yeah, that's for the boat pit, reclamation and other expenses at the boat pit. What I was trying to get at there when I talked to Brandon was that money needs to be saved up in an account. Because we don't reclaim every year. So that's been an expense, or I expect the taxpayers every year of $2,500.
I got you.
There should be a lot of money somewhere saved up to do a full reclaim when it's due.
I got you. I know what it
Actually,
is now.
An account never was made, so that money is basically sitting in the fund balance. So you got 10 years or 8 years of $2,500. That's quite a chunk of change.
I agree with the set aside, but I don't agree with setting it up till someday till we have to reclaim, because we got in trouble about 5 years ago or a little bit more. Do you remember, John? We got a fine for not reclaiming, and that process needs to just constantly go on, like an acre or a half an acre, an attempt. And we weren't doing it, we got slapped. So,
I've been talking to the Act 250 people down in Springfield.
Yep.
And as soon as I get out of this last phase, it has to be done.
Yep.
It's done by phases. But 4, 5, and 6, once 6 is done, 4, 5, and 6 have to be reclaimed.
yeah, but I'm sure they'll tell you, because I remember I remember having that meeting where we got in trouble, and
Fine.
we got fined, and it was because nobody was paying attention to the switch, and so, it's like when you're on a construction job, they allow you to disturb an acre. Beyond that, you're supposed to start reclaiming and do lots of work to put down hay and do stormwater stuff.
Exactly.
Right.
It's all spelled out in the Act 250 permit.
Yep.
I have a meeting with them every year. I let them know when I'm opening up a new section, and we go over all the regulations.
Okay, Mike?
Okay, regardless of when or
Yes, sir.
how much we're gonna do at a time, I agree with Ray that whatever money's been put in there that's just floating around somewhere in an unencumbered account,
A line.
we need to put that somewhere
As
so
a
we know
separate-
that that money is there.
What it's
I don't know.
I would almost recommend,
You need to establish a separate reserve fund.
yes, that's what I was getting at, that we would have to, that's a ballot vote.
Yep.
Right, you'd have to create a ballot vote, so you gotta figure out how much money you got where, and it's not gonna change your budget, but the people have to say, okay, move that money over there.
Well, it'll be a transfer.
Yes, that's all. But we need to get that money so we know where it is, and we know how much we have for that.
Well, zero right
For
now.
that.
It's floating around in the annual operating budget.
Well, but Ray says there's like 8 years of 2,500.
We don't,
It's-
well, but that's encumbered in the line items. We don't have a reserve account for the sand pit right now. We
Yeah,
have two reserve accounts.
we need to
Motorized
establish one.
and non-motorized, which would be aggregate or something. But it's not, we don't have a,
Should we, then? I guess that's the question.
but I think John's right, or he was onto something where you'd have to have voter approval to set up a separate account. We don't have that right
Oh,
now.
I know that.
So when Ray says that this is just going on, that's not exactly true, because we use the surpluses and we use the money up in another way. We don't have 20 grand sitting around waiting to reclaim the boat pit. We don't have 10 grand. We don't have it.
Should we?
I'm just saying that it's in the annual operating budget, and you think you have it. It's like the library coming in like they did last year and saying, well, wait a minute, we had that money in for the maintenance of the building fund last year. Where is it? Well, it gets absorbed within their annual operating budget. It's not a set aside, but neither is any of these other lines.
That's why I brought it up to Brandon, because there should be an account, so that money is saved up.
Yep.
I don't want to keep charging the taxpayers $2,500 for reclaim and not using it for not reclaiming every year.
And the auditors go, as we've heard before with Steve Heyer, they're going crazy about having all these separate accounts. They like one big account.
I don't care.
I know,
care.
I
They
get
get paid.
I get it.
They get paid. Do your job. I don't care what
I
they.
get it. Oh, they
I want
want,
that said when they're here too.
they want all these merged. Okay, does anybody have any questions about we're kind of through this, as in a general sense. I mean, I heard Brandon say that he's funding it the same. he's assuming he took an average of the state aid to highway. There's 2% pay raises, there's apparently there's a significant reduction in healthcare because of opt-outs. So the line item change, if you can read that. I haven't read this, but is there an amount still in for the same for gravel and that kind of thing, Ray? Are you still on, Ray?
Yeah, sorry, I lost my button. What was
Okay.
the question, Dave?
Larry Millian used to have that trouble.
Is the same amount in for items such as gravel, or is there anything in, because that's the overriding question. So,
Yeah, the gravel budget, the chloride budget, it's all the same as it was this last year.
okay, so is there any money?
The paving went down, like Brandon said, and, repairs and supplies because of the greater warranty.
Yes,
With that greater warranty and the maintenance, it's obviously gonna cost us less a year to maintain the grader.
yes.
And as far as the guardrails, to make a point on that, Brandon and I have talked about a highway or a federal lands access permit. I mentioned it to him a couple times, we're working on it. To do, it would cover guardrails for the whole length of Reservoir Road if we could get it.
Good.
That's something that eventually, once this stuff slows down with COVID, I'm hoping we can sit down and have a serious conversation about. This is just not the year to do that.
Yeah, I know. I did, this afternoon, because of the meeting tonight, I held up the payment on purpose of the grader repair and had a conversation with Milton Cat, and they are in no hurry to do it, but the new grader is in, it's in Richmond, Vermont right now, came today. And the repair is what we expected, so that is, the talk was you don't need to do it for tonight's meeting. And the rental will be minused, or it'll be on an hourly basis, it'll be backed out of the original amount that they charged us. So that is moving in the right direction.
I have another repair coming up this week. I lost a brake line during the storm, and I have a code for a depth fluid default, which is not a big deal. But just a heads up, we're gonna have them down again this week fixing it.
Yep. But the new one is, that it needs some things on it, but then, so that means that the delivery is within sight. So the good news is the new one is under repair and under a service contract. The bad news is, when it breaks, we're still out with no unit. So, and it will, but just because something else happens, that we won't have money, but we won't have it to use.
What do you mean, new equipment?
It won't hurt as much because of the cost, but it still hurts.
Yeah, but we're down the machine too, big deal, it's brand new and it's repaired, okay,
Never break unless you need them.
yeah,
New equipment doesn't break, that's
Yeah.
why we get new all the time.
that's right, yep, yep, I knew that. Knew.
Well, if we don't use it, it won't break. We just let it sit there.
Did you have a
I got a
question, John?
suggestion.
Go ahead.
I'm backing up to the reclamation.
Okay.
What if we add to the line to the non-motorized reserve fund, just next to it, or it, then it will get transferred into that reserve fund. Rather than creating a separate one, just throw it into the general.
Yeah, there is two that are voted on by the voters now.
We'd have to come up with, make sure it's going the right one. I'm not sure exactly how that's worded.
So, Rosalie, are you still on, or is she's gone?
She was having computer issues.
Okay, you don't happen to know now
Her
from,
button.
Well, we've given her an older laptop to use until the new laptops come in. I got notice that our laptops came in today, so they're over at CCI getting all the programs installed on them. So she'll have her new computer in the next meeting, but this laptop's been giving her trouble all week.
you don't happen to know the amounts of money that's in both reserve accounts now, do you? You don't happen to know the wheel fund and the non-motorized fund?
I have the sheet upstairs.
Okay.
If you'd like me to run, it'd take me 2
No, but
seconds.
we're talking about highway budget, so that's really the only other two things to think about. I mean, here's the annual operating budget, and then, okay, what is in the reserves after we just bought the grader and the dump truck? That's probably down to like close to nothing.
Yeah.
So the question will become, in addition to this, are we interested in funding, which I don't know that we did last year, money that is in a special article dealing with highway for set aside?
That is in the budget.
You guys did put 33,000 in last year.
Okay.
In the highway, equipment fund.
But.
Thank you.
So do you know, Ray, have you had a conversation with Rosalie, or do you know off the top of your head what's in the accounts after? Because I'm assuming that in this annual operating budget of the highway for FY '22, that Brandon just said that there are annual payments for the grader and the dump truck. Is that correct?
They're in here.
Yep, they're
Okay.
there.
Okay, so,
Yeah, but I made a Steve question about the reserves for those
yeah,
two accounts.
yeah, so he did, okay, so you don't have that down, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do you, I know that we took a bunch out to buy the truck, and I know we
Yeah,
took.
we put 40,000 in when we sold the old truck, and we took 40 plus the 35 out for the new truck, and I think Brandon took some out for the grader.
Yes.
I want to say it was up around 117,000, so it's down quite a bit now.
Okay,
33,000 in this,
okay, leftover. Let me ask you a question.
no, for this budget,
Where is it?
first page. First page,
Look for a big number.
right by the square box.
Yep.
Service to other departments.
Yep.
Let me ask you a question, Brandon. In your, when you started this budget to go from FY '21 to '22, we ended off on June 30th of 2020.
Yes,
We had an audited highway surplus of $100,000.
yes.
We used 50,000 of it to buy the new grader. In that package, in that financial package.
Yes,
Where's the other 50?
it was 40. So I think it was actually 39,000 we used
39,000 for what?
The truck.
for the truck.
No, I don't want to mix and match. In the audited annual operating budget, not the reserve accounts,
Yep,
at FY, at the end of 6/30/20, there was approximately $100,000 in the highway surplus. We used, I remember putting that financial package together for the road grader,
39,000.
39,000 of that 100,000?
Yes.
Okay, so that makes the number stronger, left over. Where is that? In the FY '22 budget? Did it roll over?
We haven't included it in the budget yet. Steve Heyer and I are having conversations regarding that tomorrow.
So there's $61,000 or thereabouts that is waiting to be discussed.
Yeah, the auditors had a different opinion on the surplus, so I need to chat with Steve Heyer tomorrow.
What was their opinion?
One second.
Did they have a problem with the amount, or did they have a problem with what language?
So what I'm showing in the audit,
What's the status of the audit?
I want to find
we
out.
have an audit draft, and Rosalie and I are working on the executive summary. So basically what that is it takes the entire audit and it puts it in layman's terms for the public. That's about 11 pages long. So we're in the process of creating that 11-page report. So
You must know, you're a numbers guy, and so am I, because it's at December 21st, and by now, all the chatter that I've heard about cash budget versus, what's the other word? Accrual. All the bills are way long over from 6:30. And so there must be, somebody can tell me what money is, we're either in the red or the black on 6/30 of 2020, which was close to six months ago. And all I want to know is, where is that? I know buying the grader implicated some of that.
Yep.
So, okay, set aside the opinion of the auditor, or Steve, or you, or me. What's the number?
I'd feel more comfortable answering that in the next select board meeting after I meet with Steve Fire tomorrow. The auditors are saying 97,246 in
Okay.
red.
But that gives me a ballpark to think in the red?
Yes.
Well, that dramatically affects this whole green sheet.
That's a $200,000 swing.
Something is,
But,
Hey, Brandon,
yes,
that number sounds like it matches the fund balance left over from the year before. It's like right on.
yes.
So maybe I think it's just a line item screw up.
And that's exactly what I'm thinking. So I have two
Okay.
conflicting reports. And that's why I'd feel more comfortable being able to review this tomorrow with Steve, than giving the board a report in the next meeting.
Well, but even if it's like close to zero, then did we use the $39,000 to finance the grader inadvertently?
yikes.
Like, I don't believe that's the case. I believe we have a surplus. And when I look back at the numbers, we have a surplus. So something in here doesn't seem right. So like I said, I'm meeting with
The
Steve Fire
surplus I was
tomorrow.
given in June, if I may just interrupt, I'm gonna go out on a limb. It was 93,000 and change at the end of June. And that 97,000 number you just gave me, really does sound identical to the number of the fund balance. It was 97,845 in the fund balance.
If there is some kind of a discrepancy, though, surpluses are quite a bit different to deal with than deficits. Deficits, by the words of whatever the acts are that have to do with this, mean that you gotta hurry up and catch up like yesterday.
Like this year.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, you can't move it. You got to.
oh, no, it's like when Larry Moline did that one time, and then the general fund, it was like tax increase, whatever. So I guess I guess this is one of those things that I wasn't really aware of.
We should let him get a solid report for next time.
Yes.
But, okay, John,
I'm gonna make a general comment. We were having the same conversation a year ago about our auditors. I don't know when the contract is up. These people are not very timely. Their work may be fine, but we used to get audits in no later than October, and here we are December. Last year, we couldn't even get the stuff before town report. I don't know when their contract's up.
I
So
don't
this-
think, the last year, whoever it was came down here, we were downstairs, and according to Steve, they were willing to handshake us goodbye, because they had other work to do too. I think it was a 5-year contract, we could just friendly go away, just like,
That
you're
would be
right.
fine with me.
Here it is, December 21st. I had like kind of hopes here that we're going through the budget timeline. Now we're gonna push the highway into January 4th meeting.
It's
Now we're going-
information we need,
Exactly,
and it's not available.
exactly. Yes.
So,
Again,
I'm thinking like if this was going through, I'll just tell you how my thought process was going. I don't know about the rest of the board, but this is where I was going. If I saw the same number as last year in this highway, given this particular year, and somehow they were able to work within the lines of the budgets and offer a 2% increase in pay, and to do this around and to listen to the gravel being spent the same way, and maybe a little bit down on paving, and then if I had the knowledge that I had $60,000 in a surplus, in addition to putting 39,000 into the grader, I'd be willing to adopt this budget tonight.
I agree.
Because I wouldn't go ask the voters for a separate article for $30,000 more. I'd ask for another motion on the table to apply the $60,000 in the surplus into the reserve fund for wheels. And now we're at zero, folks. We're at a budget that was the same as last year. It allows for pay raises. It allows the employees to contribute more in healthcare. And we have money that's going back into the bank to replace the wheels. Done. Now we're not done.
And the only reason we're not done is because
Of
it could be a negative number. And if it is.
If it's negative.
If it is, we're screwed.
If it is, we're screwed because the green sheet now has to be revisited.
But if it's not, and that's all we really need to know. If it's
I don't
not-
believe it's not, but I just, like I was saying, I need to speak with Steve
Know what the
tomorrow.
number
Okay, fair enough then. To prepare for the 4th meeting, right, January 4th, and I really don't really want to have. Does everybody understand what I just said in a really
Yes.
speed up way?
Yes.
Just so we have one of these budgets, I want to get something done. And that means that this, and I know I'm oversimplifying things, but this year, given that information that I just blurted out, is pretty good. So, if you can get that information to us, Brandon, then we'll be all set for so that at least this budget may be off the table, for the 4th.
And a comment on the audit, that is the first item that's going out to bid when our website goes live on the 21st. So we are sending that out to bid this year.
Well, you'd have to look up their contract to make sure that, I believe they had a 5-year term, and you'd have to call them up and say, "This is not working out for us."
I've had a discussion with them, and it's expired. So.
Okay. The only reason why we did that, you're gonna remember the same thing, John. We thought it was kind of okay to switch horses, because we didn't wanna look like we had the same auditor for like 12 years in a row, or 15.
Yeah.
Just give somebody else a chance.
Well, and even their, what do they call it? The report at the end has been, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. We weren't even happy with all the stuff they were telling us we had to do.
Right.
You gotta have this 14 different policies that all of a sudden we had to do.
Are there any more questions about the proposed 22 highway budget? Ray, did you happen to listen to my spiel that I just said there? Are you okay with some of that?
I agree 100% if the numbers shake out. I would love to use those funds and reserves. Even if we split it 50-50 and put some in the capital reserve, because that money can be tapped in for guardrail or extra culverts or anything like that if we have a problem too.
See, what it does is, it just cleans up some of the surplus, and then it also funds your reserve accounts that then can be requested anytime, and it doesn't ask the taxpayers to pony up more money. So it kind of,
And I wouldn't be objective to having some of it go into the other account too.
Yep.
To help out with.
yeah, we can talk about that when we get to
And
it.
that way you're not spending $33,000 in tax dollars to save up, put in the account.
Yep. Did you have a question, Paul?
So, are you guys all set with me?
Yep,
Thank you, Ray.
yep, thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
I just want to say something real quick, if I could, before I go. I know I missed the not on the agenda thing, but I want to thank my crew for all their hard work during this storm. They did an awesome job.
And I opened the meeting that way, so if you were late,
I missed that. I'm sorry.
if you were late, I know we've got headaches, but we've never seen like that kind of snow, and nobody can be prepared for that, so,
No, we hit between 44 and 48 inches.
yep.
It was crazy. But anyways, thanks guys. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you, good night.
Yep,
Good night.
Paul.
I do have a question, hopefully Brandon can answer it now that Ray's off, but, they're pretty minor
Still
numbers.
here.
Oh, you're still good. These are pretty minor numbers compared to what we were just talking about, but in the debt service, revenue column and stuff, you got services to West Weathersfield Volunteer Fire Department for the $500. What's that for?
For how much?
500. That's what your proposed is?
Debt service?
Yeah.
It should be under revenue. That's usually for, like, we're plowing out their driveway for them now.
Now, okay, so you plow the West Weathersfield Fire Department, and then they pay you. Okay.
So,
Comes out of their,
Yep, which is like the same thing as like the library is like 500 for plowing and stuff
Right.
and whatever. Okay.
yeah, there used to be a line for both departments there used to be a line for both departments for our mechanic.
Yep.
And we don't have that anymore. There's always been a little bit of money in there for going out on overtime and sanding driveways or whatever at a fire.
Yep.
Or fueling up fire trucks.
Yep.
That should be under a different line. Other services to fire. This one here is just for helping out with their snow and whatnot. I'd asked Darren, but they're all set on their side of town as far as plowing.
Yeah. No.
And also, I try to check with them when I'm pushing back.
Yeah. No. I was just curious about that. And the sanding, I was curious, but you just answered that too, because I know you go out and try to sand for these guys when they have fires and things. So.
Yeah, that's kind of a wash. The other thing is dry hydrants. That's its own separate line item.
All right. Thank you.
Did you have a question, Mike? You all set?
No, I'm all set. I was gonna ask you if you wanted to move on this tonight and then just postpone.
No, because
the
I
vote.
think we'll
We'll wait, yeah.
Yep, we'll wait. Everybody it'll be in the minutes of what I spieled off. I did a bunch of things in a hurry there with as a general observation about a bunch of things. Any more questions on the highway?
I'll just make one comment. When I opened this up and I flipped to the last page and the number from the last year and this year were the same, I was really impressed. Like, what did they forget?
Yeah.
And
The $9,000 deficit.
Yeah. Well, let's keep our, it is 2020, but let's keep our fingers crossed.
yeah.
Thank you. Good job, Brandon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Next up, we got errors and omissions on the grand list, I believe. Must be, it's from the listers, they signed it, and you can see it back on your iPad. I need a motion to approve the errors and omissions certificate from the listers for 2020.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
motion been made and seconded to approve the errors and omissions certificate for 2020 documented by the listers? Any discussion?
Yeah, just when they do the math, make sure they pay attention. The top one is, goes down and it's not bracketed. So somebody could very easily go through that list and think it's a plus when they're developing the list. I think that's the only one. All the rest are up.
There's
Full
one other-
disclosure.
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm not sure on the current, all the others are current. The big ones are all current use changes.
Any questions?
I just have one.
Go ahead.
We have 3 listers in town, correct?
Yes.
We only have 2 signatures here. Does the third lister have to sign this too? I'm not sure of the roles and responsibilities for
It's the same thing as the select board, so as long as there's a majority vote of the board, or a majority of signatures, since there's only 3 listers, 2 out of 3.
Yep, okay.
Any other comments on the motion?
Maybe, Brandon, just review that with them, because one is a current use removed, another one's a current use added, and the math would be the opposite, it would seem, as you take them on and put them off.
And you're right, John, number 1, which full disclosure happens to be my daughter, is minus, not plus.
Right.
And it looks like it's plus.
But these changes are coming forward. We accept these changes. We'll see how that shakes out on the grand list once they plug the numbers in, plus or minus. But you have a good point.
Well,
Make sure they know whether
Make
it's a
sure they
plus
do,
or a
they enter
minus.
it correctly.
Hold on, John. Look down here to about the 6th one down. It does give parentheses around a negative.
Right,
So-
some do and some, that was my point.
Yep.
One of them they did, at least one other one they didn't.
To the top one.
Right.
And I'm not sure on the current use, which ones should've got brackets.
So on the bottom sheet, they do not, when does this have to be in by?
What's what?
When does this have to be in by, Brandon? Do you know?
I'm not 100% sure when it needs to be in by.
Do they have to summarize and total up the difference in the grand use list on this sheet?
This is the sheet that just shows the board what their changes are. Would you like me to revisit this with them tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yes.
Please.
That's why I asked you if there was all of a sudden, we're at the deadline, the end of the year for 2020, and this has to be done. You want me to tell you, I think that's true? Because I remember having a conversation with Carolyn Heyer about, I'm trying to put some more property into current use, and it's just a simple amendment on the farm, and I did it within the deadline of September 1st, or August 30th, and she told me, I paid the $100, and she said, oh no, Dave, that's for the fiscal year 23. I said, what the hell are you talking about? They got my money.
That's the way it works.
And she said to me that there's a new person's been allocated to current use in the town of Weathersfield, and they haven't done any work, and they do have to finish it all in December. So I think that this is important.
It is. It actually says 32 VSA 4261. When real or personal estate is omitted from the grand list by mistake, or an obvious error is found, the listers, with the approval of the select board, before December 31st.
Yes, there we go.
May
Motion.
apply such omissions.
Approve it.
Yes.
With visions. And I'm not gonna tell them which ones are
Corrections,
wrong.
to the positive and the negative
Yes.
of this. That's what, so can you put that in the minutes? That the motion states that the board has found that some of these are in the positive and some of them are in the negative, and they may affect the grand list appropriately, but they're not that well documented here.
Correct.
You want that as part of the motion?
Well, as some kind of a,
Because your motion says as documented by listers.
yeah, but it's a little, if I showed you this, or you may have it.
I can see it.
Yeah, it looks a little like, well, there's some that have parentheses around it because it shows a minus, about the sixth one down. The very first one should have the same one because it's a negative change.
Is that the only other one, though, that's a negative change that would need those?
Well, some of the current use ones are going into current use and some are coming out of current use. And it seems like they'd have an opposite effect on the grand list.
So we need a signification of whether they're an addition or
Yeah,
subtraction.
subtraction, right.
So do you want to add the word subject to confirmation? to your-
No, I just, I'm a little bit concerned about the effect of this, whether it's important or not. Maybe it's not important, because it does say,
Yes.
let's look at number one, right? It is going down. It says 219 down to 216.
From two.
To change
The
from and
difference
to.
is-
It says it on there, and over on the other column is where it's not really,
Yeah, but David, no, withdrawn from current use, that should increase the grand list. And then another one is withdrawn.
Yeah, so all those.
Withdrawn. Oh, they're all withdrawn.
yeah, but not
Now
Daniel's.
there's an exemption.
But Daniel says acreage change, and that is one, and they do corral that from 14.6, so they're going down from 164 to 149.
There's three big ones on the
Yeah.
second page that all current use exemption, current use exemption, current use exemption, all over.
Oh, they're all added, they're adding to, this is the first year for current use?
But I think the point is, the numbers are there, the numbers are correct. It's just a matter of whether it's a plus or a minus, and you want clarification on that. I think we can still move forward with this and get it done.
No,
It just-
we have to, because there is a 31st.
Well, that's why John said with revisions, to add that to his motion.
So move.
Second.
It's amended to
Joey, I
say.
think you seconded
Can
that?
you restate that motion?
Well, how about not revisions, how about clarifications?
With clarification.
Of subtraction or addition?
Math.
Yes.
So just subject to clarification?
Of subtraction and addition, yes.
Because I don't think any of the numbers are gonna change. It's just, what do they do?
But it wouldn't have if they had done this on the sheet where it would show like an add or a minus on the right column.
It will show up in the grand list, I mean, and the numbers are in front of us, so if we have to approve it, we can figure it out.
You're right.
Yes.
They can figure it out.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I know, that's exactly right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Chain of command discussion.
Aye.
That's how it works, that's all you have to do?
My wife, me?
Are you done, Mr. Todd? I asked to have this put on there because we've had a few spots now where there has been what I think, not helpful, interjection of thoughts and phone calls and moves, and other people don't know about what's going on. So I really need to have all the entities of the town know appropriately what to do. And I've sent out messages, I think, to everybody, and lumped them all into one, particularly when we had an issue with the dispatch and Golden Cross and the fire departments, where people need to know, since the town pays for Golden Cross, they pay for the dispatching, that those questions and answers come starting with the town manager's office. We just had something that involved me on emergency management, and Brandon and I worked together, and I thought we had developed a plan, and that didn't go like we thought. So I want to just remind people that if you're in doubt, you've got, and some of this is serious, so in doubt, and it depends on what we're talking about, it's gotta go through the town manager's office. That's what we hire them for, to do, and then those decisions are made, and they can't be walked back, or else he will have to have a performance on a job then. So I was gonna, but I didn't get to it today, I was gonna ask either the state or whatever, okay, where does the town manager then fall under like the emergency management? And I haven't had any, throughout this whole COVID thing, Brandon and I's relationship has been as strong as ever. He'll call me and ask me, or I'll call him and he'll say, what do you wanna do, or I'll ask him, what do you wanna do? And we've never had that happen, where somebody had made a decision that the other one didn't know about. But with COVID-19, it's very serious to follow the chain of contact. We notify this, to notify the state health department, and to follow through with paperwork so that something else won't happen after something happens. So that's why I put this on the agenda. I hope that the board supports that philosophy, where it has to funnel through the town manager's office, and then if something different happens, that he'll have to deal with that appropriately on an evaluation, or perhaps a little bit more. He'll have to do that. Any questions about what I'm talking about, Mike?
Are there any specific protocols set forth for COVID response from the state now that address what you're talking about?
Yes.
Should we put this in policy somehow, so there's some sort of, like you said, chain of command?
Well,
right there?
all of this is available on the website for the state. That's come a long way, as far as positive testing or chain of contact. And they have evolved on some of this. So in some cases, you can just simply wait for 10 days after thinking that you've come into somebody positive, and not do anything. You don't need to get tested. You've self-quarantined, and then you can come back. Some other things are, if you believe that you may have come in contact with someone who is positive, you can wait 7 days by self-quarantining and then get tested somewhere. In our emergency management meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago now, the school has offered the services of the school nurse, who has a significant amount of contact with where you can get tested in a hurry. And I know that BJ and I have spoken, and she said that I think her name is Emily Stevens, is the nurse. And while others, including Brandon at one time, found it hard to get in and tested, she knows the right people, and that's what you have to do to get tested, and they get you in. It was a big help to have the school offer that service. So, but to answer your question, Mike, about does the state have more answers or whatever, they would ask questions about the contact. They're very concerned about that. And I don't know whether anybody heard the news tonight, but in Brandon's lead off to the town manager report, they're in the UK right now, there's some kind of strain they think that's affiliated from COVID, and they're shutting down all the travel again between Europe and America, and then in between their countries.
I caught that.
So it may be getting a little bit more difficult again. Question again.
I have, I think maybe a couple more that come out of your statement from the choice to quarantine as opposed to get tested. In a scenario, somebody in the crew tests positive. What are the protocols? You say 7 to 10 days. Somebody they don't have to get tested, they can choose to go home. Well, okay, what does that mean for us? As that employee is gone.
The protocol for us, which is what Brandon and I will continue to follow, is we will notify the State Department of Health.
I guess what I'm looking at, what happens with that employee? I mean, if they're choosing to go home, are we paying them?
Yes, that's not a choice.
Okay, that's what I was getting to. I just wanted to know what happens, what happens to us in that scenario?
It's not a choice, and in the State Department, in the Health Department's website, which you can follow through. It's similar to the COVID relief money. I'm sure that if and when we get presented with that problem, we would ask for COVID reimbursement perhaps, that we would be down a person, that we need to follow a couple of things. Number one, the person and the person's health and well-being. Number two, the contact, the chain of contact, which is as important as that. Now, maybe not in order of these, but this is another consideration. If the contact was either in a town building or in a town machine. So there's virtually three things. A person, the persons that may have been involved in contact, and/or buildings or machines. All of that.
Thank you.
Paul, did you have a question, Paul?
A separate question from the COVID stuff. If anybody's got anything more on COVID, I'll let that be asked first. Mine's more of a chain of command stuff.
Okay.
So chain of command, you also mentioned that maybe some of our contracted services have been contacted and not maybe through Brandon. I just wanted to clarify and understand this, that the only person, I think I'm hearing this, the only person that can represent Weathersfield Town to any of our contracted services right now would be basically through Brandon, correct?
Yes.
So
That's my direction.
and that would be Golden Cross, that would be dispatch, that would be anything of that nature. So, and that includes ourselves. If I have a question about something, it's not appropriate if I just call Dale up and talk to him. I should go through Brandon, or how?
I think that's probably appropriate.
And that's okay. That's, I was wondering if that's how we wanted to go about all this.
Or me, because I'm involved in emergency management at this time.
Absolutely.
But that's where I was gonna ask the state, perhaps, I don't really know, but I'm sure I'll let him speak if he wants to. He stayed silent, Brandon, but when I said that I thought that whatever the relationship that you and I have, there hasn't been a time where there's been, what did you do that for? Or I didn't know about that, or something to that effect.
And that's what I would expect is you two, and then funnel down to us per se. That's obviously.
Did you have a question, Mike?
No, I would typically, as a board member, go to you first. Just because I'm a board member. And he's a busy guy.
Yeah.
And he may know the answer first, and
No, I don't know about that.
well, I'm just.
I'm trying to get to the point where we can avoid some of this, some of the, that could be confusion. And it's been on a couple of different things, so, it's.
I just, as a board member, I look at the chair as as my
Yep.
point person to start with, a chain of command. I mean, he's in charge of the town.
Yep.
Unless I've got an issue with him.
Right, no,
I'm
you're
going to
right.
him first.
I'm in agreement with that.
That's all.
Chair, well, the chair, the chair, yeah.
It seemed to me that Irene was almost simpler than this, as bad as that sounds, but it was an event that happened, and then we fixed the event. We don't seem to be able to fix what's going on now for a while. It seems to be,
It's evolving
More.
and changing.
yeah.
On a positive note, just as a clarification, that stuff from the stuff I was reading, it looks like it might be a faster spreading type strain of the COVID, but they did say that the vaccine, looks like the vaccine will still work
on that.
On that, so, not that we all have it, but, the people that are getting it now should be covered for that.
Do we have let's move on to the, do you have any news at all, Brandon? You and I, we're on the 2014 purchase and sales agreement, and perhaps at the last meeting, I may have ruffled a few feathers, and I apologize for phrasing it the way it did, but the minutes, I think, reflect the intent of that, which was to turn over at least for temporary status, the purchase and sales agreement to the town manager and the tax collector. And I think that that's an important thing, that the minutes said that. So, do you have any news on that, or not?
So, on December 14th, I mailed a letter to the resident, which broke the ice on conversations between the resident and my office. The request in the letter was to arrange a meeting with me and us sit down and have those discussions. The resident has not reached out to me at this time. If I don't hear something, I'm gonna give it until the end of the year. And then if I don't hear anything, then I'll follow up in another letter with a drop dead date. You must, communicate with us by X date. And we'll go from there. But at this time, I haven't heard anything from the resident, but I did mail the letter.
Okay, are there any questions? Yes. Paul?
Just quickly, as far as the contractual original agreement stuff that everybody had talked about, the resident is gone through the items that needed to be contractually taken care of, or there's still shortcomings on both sides?
Well, when a contingency has not been met in an agreement, it's considered null and void.
Okay.
So, in my opinion, the current agreement cannot be met. But that doesn't, we're going to go into those discussions.
Okay.
And we haven't had an opportunity to do so yet.
That's basically what your letter alluded to?
You mailed a letter on the 14th?
It may have been, let me take a peek real quick.
Okay, today's the 21st, and the last 4 days we've been buried.
Yeah.
So, I'm not,
Yeah, December 14th, I mailed a letter. And I said, I'll read the letter out loud. I'm writing this letter to update you regarding your purchase and sale agreement with the town of Weathersfield. As you know, this agreement was signed in 2014 to satisfy delinquent property taxes between 2000 and 2010. The town of Weathersfield has made a good faith effort to complete this agreement. However, several conditions within the agreement cannot be met. I would like to schedule a time and date to discuss a payment arrangement with you. Please contact me at your earliest convenience.
thank you. My point was just that I'm not too concerned with the fact that we haven't heard back yet with the timing on when it was mailed and what's gone on the last 4 days. We may hear something soon.
Yeah, I believe we will.
She may not even have gotten the letter yet, the way it's going.
That's right.
Yeah.
Even without the snowstorm.
Yeah.
That's right, John.
Can we move on to warrants, please?
Make a motion to approve warrant article December 21st, 2020. General fund payroll, $14,012.40. Operating, $10,941.69. Highway payroll, $8,357.51. Operating, $16,972.07. Solid waste payroll, $1,539.33. Operating, $12,791.83. Library payroll, $1,895.85. Grants, $17,185.50. Fire gear AVFD, $930 total. Payroll, $25,805.09. Operating, $58,821.09.
Can I ask a question? You said something about fire gear? Because that wasn't on the warrant that was on the website. I don't have it in here.
It's on our iPad, so it may be on the,
Okay.
it may be on.
It just came in late.
It- I don't know.
Printed one. I must have missed it. I'm sorry.
Is it on the printed one, Brandon?
It's on the printed one that was here.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's also on the website as well.
I must have missed it. My apologies.
It's okay.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second it.
The motion has been made and seconded to approve the warrants dated December 21st, 2020. Any discussion? I don't hear anybody else, so I'm gonna jump in. When you turn to page, scroll down to 2, second page, I'm not gonna read this off, but I'm gonna make people aware of this.
Page 2?
Page 2, so it's gonna be the 2 on the general fund, about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th check down. Okay? 223253 check number. Okay, we all know about that, and that's,
And it's
seems,
not over yet.
seems to be significant. Are there any other questions about the warrants dated, December 21st, 2020? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. There are no appointments. I would urge if anybody's still listening, or we're on tape, of course, that as noted early on, that the seats are still available to fill on any of these committees, should you choose to be part of the town and want to get engaged. You're welcome to do that. Sorry, it's 8:30, I'm yawning. I have a thing here from Norwich Solar. Imagine that. I don't know what that's about. You think? Can I have a motion to go in executive session for personnel? It's going to take about 5 minutes, so.
So move.
Second.
Motion been made to go in executive session for personnel. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.